first time I saw it, I was 7 years old, standing in a quiet kitchen, staring at my mother's face and knowing, before she said a word, that the day was already going bad. My stomach tightened, my hands went cold, and I learned something a child should never have to learn: how to read a room before I could even explain my own feelings. That is what growing up too fast really looks like. Not some cute story about being mature for your age, but a child becoming an emotional firefighter in a house that should have been safe. You start tracking footsteps. Tone changes, silences that last too long. Childhood doesn't disappear all at once. It gets replaced by vigilance. And that kind of survival leaves marks most people never see. Here's the thing. Psychology has a name for it: parentification. It happens when a child is pushed into the role of caregiver, mediator, peacemaker, or emotional support for adults who were supposed to protect them during critical years of development that can reshape how the brain learns safety, love, and self-worth. And that rewiring doesn't just create pain. It creates traits that are rare, complicated, and sometimes misunderstood. But that was only the beginning. The first trait is hypervigilant empathy. You can walk into a room and feel the temperature of every mood before anybody speaks. You notice the clipped answers, the forced smiles, the tiny pauses between sentences. You don't just hear words. You read damage. That skill was never a gift you asked for. It was a survival system. You learned early that predicting an adult's emotions could keep the peace, or at least allay the storm. That's why people like you often become incredible friends, partners, listeners, even healers. But it also means your nervous system may never fully power down. You keep scanning for danger long after the danger is gone. That is what trauma-trained empathy can do. It turns sensitivity into a full-time job, and that's exhausting. But what nobody tells you is this: being sensitive is not the same as being unsafe. The second trait is hyperindependence, and people always praise it like it's glamorous. You're so strong. You never need anything. But under that praise is a lonely truth. You don't ask for help because somewhere deep inside, needing someone became linked with disappointment, guilt, or abandonment. When you were the child holding everything together, dependence did not feel soft. It felt risky. So you built walls, then doubled them, then acted like you didn't need doors at all. The problem is, real independence is a choice. You should be able to rely on people and still stand on your own. But when trust was never safe, independence stops being freedom and starts looking like isolation. And that's the part people miss. But the next trait cuts even deeper. The third is borrowed maturity. You were called wise, responsible, so grown. And maybe you were. Maybe you had to be. But that maturity was not earned in the way healthy maturity is earned. It was extracted from the childhood you never got to keep. You learned to speak like an adult, reason like an adult, comfort like an adult. Meanwhile, the part of you that wanted to play, to mess up, to be ridiculous, to be held without earning it, that part got left behind. Psychologists sometimes describe this as developmental interruption, when normal growth gets skipped because survival takes over. That can leave an adult who handles pressure beautifully but feels awkward with joy, rest, or softness. You can manage crisis, but not always comfort. You can carry a family, but struggle to let yourself be cared for. And that conflict is real. Then there are your boundaries, or what's left of them. Saying no can feel like betrayal. Taking space can feel selfish. Choosing yourself can trigger guilt so fast it feels physical, like a hand tightening around your throat. That happens because your needs were probably treated as inconvenience, your emotions as too much, your limits as negotiable. So you learn to shrink. You absorbed other people's moods, their stress, their chaos, and then blamed yourself for feeling overwhelmed. This is where boundary confusion starts to live in the body. You stop knowing where you end and others begin. The work now is not building walls so high nobody gets in. It's learning that a boundary is not rejection. It is the place where you are finally allowed to exist without performing for survival. And then there is the rarest trait of all, the witness wound. You see what other people miss. You notice the sadness behind the joke, the fear behind the anger, the child hiding inside the adult who looks fine on the outside. You became fluent in pain because you had to translate your own. That makes you deeply perceptive. And yes, quietly powerful. but it can also make you carry everyone else's suffering like it belongs to you. You become the one who understands, the one who stays, the one who notices the cracks. Just don't forget to notice your own. So here's the truth I wish someone had told you sooner. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not difficult. You are someone whose nervous system learned to survive in a place that demanded too much too soon. Those traits that feel like scars are also evidence that you made it through. The child you were deserved better. The adult you are deserves rest. Healing is not forgetting what happened. It is finally letting that younger version of you come home. And tell me this, when a child has to become the adult, who is really responsible for the damage?